start with like an introduction.
Okay.
So
if my dog randomly snores, I'm sorry.
that's
Or
okay.
she might whine because I'm not giving her attention. But, you're starting and then you're already ignoring me. How dare you?
My mom texted me. I can't ignore that. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I can ignore everybody. Okay, so welcome to our channel, Hamari Kahani, Hamari Zabani, and I am so excited to have my friend, Christian. So excited. Christian and I have been friends for over almost, I would say, 20 years. And this has been such a beautiful journey to 2021 to start my year with my friend. And I'm just blessed to have you here, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
And I'm just blessed to even celebrate you. That's all I want to say. I'm so happy to celebrate you. I'm happy to have you come and share so much about your journey and, things that you've been through, ups and downs in life. And we've been in and out of each other's lives as friends, in the picture. But again, it's good that we are making this effort to actually continue really being in touch and actually making sure we keep in touch.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I messaged you after I had that crazy dream about you. And because God or higher power or whatever spirituality you believe in puts things in our minds, for a reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have dumb dreams because of medication, but I messaged you and then we started talking and it was as if like no time had passed. So, I'm just glad I wasn't a hot mess this time.
No, I'm like, it's destiny. I feel like the cycle of my life began meeting you, to be honest to you. So, and here we are today, and we get to talk about something that is not in our conventional society. And it's about who we are as a person. And it's also beautiful to see that we can actually come together as community from different origins, brother or sister from another mother, we can say, or friends. And we both have been through that hardship of who we are as an individual with our identity. So I've never talked about my being queer or me being coming out, but today I'm really proud to say that I am gay and I'm here to stay, and love me or like me or hate me, I'm not moving. I'm just growing. So
they probably already know by your haircut, so.
Oh yeah, dead giveaway, right?
I'm just kidding.
And it's growing gray.
It is going gray. Okay, I stressed you out.
But it's been like that since I was in my 20s. I've had hereditary, but that just means like I'm more wiser, I've grown wiser at a young age. So
okay.
What do we want to talk about today?
I don't care. I'm a pretty open book, so.
Where you've been all these years, man? Like
in and out of mental hospitals, on and off the streets, in some really good relationships and a couple abusive relationships, dying a few times, just trying to figure out myself and conquer my battles of self-hatred, childhood trauma, and that which sometimes, I don't know how many people know on here, but when you have childhood trauma, you attract trauma. You don't know that you're attracting trauma, but it doesn't happen to everybody, but it sure happened with me. I just kept putting myself in situations and it kept happening. I don't know if I had a letter on my head that said, I'm a pushover or whatever. But, I just wanted people to love me and accept me. And I don't even know all the time how I got in the situations. It's just looking back now, I have to take responsibility because I'm not a victim anymore, which I was for a long time. It was everybody else's fault when my life was going bad. But I'm, like you said, it's a new year. Like, oh, sorry. I have like 500 alarms on my phone, and I don't even always know why they're there, but I just don't take them off. But yeah, so like this year for me is like I've been sober since I think 15 months now, and I didn't do so many things in life because I was afraid that people wouldn't love me if I did. I don't think I thought consciously that they wouldn't love me, but I was afraid they wouldn't be my friend, that I would end up alone, and that just seemed horrible. I didn't want to end up alone. Um, and so like this year there's this guy that I listen to, and he says you need to punch fear in the face. So I'm working on doing things that I've always been afraid to do, you know. And they might not seem a big deal to some people, but to me they are. Like when I was like 17, I was, out as a lesbian. Um, Out as a lesbian in high school, but I was afraid to cut my hair because I was afraid people wouldn't like it. And if they didn't like my hair, they weren't going to like me. So, and that was way before I knew I was transgender. So it's just like little things in life that I let other people rule because I was so afraid that I was going to get rejected. And I hung around people that I didn't know were dangerous at the time, and got in situations that were not positive and hurt my self-esteem even more. But and then um continued my addiction because my life was hard. Didn't you know what I've been through?
Yeah.
Don't you know what's happened to me? Instead of taking responsibility and being honest with myself first and foremost. I think the biggest person I ever manipulated was myself, because I believed my own lies, so I'm learning how to, slowly slowly find out what the truth is and rediscover and love myself again. So yeah.
That is something even I'm learning, and I've been learning for a while now, and it's not like you can wake up next week and realize like these are the things I need to do to love myself. It's daily, like nurturing yourself, daily humble reminders. Like you have reminders, I have reminders too, when they just right now on silent, but it's just daily reminders every few minutes to take care of yourself, relax, breathe,
Yeah.
absorb
Yeah.
the day, because that is something I tend to forget, and everything falls on the cards of that. But with you, I remember seeing you always positive,
Mhm.
inspiring, always made the worst moments of your life. You've always taken it with stride and smile. I remember the times when some dark things that had happened at an earlier time when we had met. Um, you still were very optimistic, and I always thought about you that you have that childlike quality, and
Right.
keep finding you again, like after so many years in that same place when we hiked the other day. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm so glad, like you're still like your inner child ability to
Right.
laugh, be able to just like the old times. It's like I could like see it, and I was like so happy. So this is, I want to share your accomplishments. I want to talk about your things that you have completely, like you had set yourself out to do this and you've managed to accomplish that for yourself, or the things that you're working on right now and your future goals.
um well, even through my addiction, I was able to have, for the most part, continue my transition journey. um so I'm pretty proud of that. I didn't lose my family. Now they took a step back, but I didn't uh, lose them. So I'm really grateful about that. I had my first job in sobriety. I hadn't worked for like 10 years, not a real job. I did maybe gig work, but so I held a job for, during the pandemic for 6 months. And it was, kind of rough for me because I hadn't worked in so long, and I'm still healing from, almost dying in the hospital. And I had, I was like, hey, I got to work on myself. And I took a step back, and now I'm working part time um, for my mental health. Um, and I'm, working on, creating YouTube stuff. Cause I just, people have always told me I have a story to tell, and um, I'm really nervous that people aren't going to like it, or they're going to think I'm dumb, or my friends are going to, whatever. But I'm tired of, wishing I did stuff and then never doing it. So the worst thing that could happen is I could work on it and nothing comes of it. But that's okay, because at least I tried.
Yeah.
Um, rather than always being depressed and dreaming about all the things I want to do,
Yeah.
but not doing anything, which has been most of my life. I have all these hopes and dreams, but I don't do any action to actually do them. Like, I'm just
That's
supposed to.
true, because you have been doing it. You've been doing, I've seen you do your own like little. You're doing your own startup channel. You're
Yeah,
creating something for people, other trans community members who are
yeah,
out there and who may be struggling. I feel that you're on such a beautiful journey for starting that, and there is a need for that, and
yeah,
you're the light. Carry it.
yeah. What's funny is that, like, the last probably, I don't know, 8 years, like I was, there were some positives, but like a lot of stuff happened where I stopped talking. Like, there were some really good moments about life, but I just stopped talking. And I'm just learning how to laugh again, because I did so much damage to my brain. It was just hard to actually, process what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was around people that made me feel stupid, and people died, and just a lot of bad things were happening. Or not bad things, but things that um I wouldn't want in my universe. They happen for whatever reason.
Surrounding
And
people. Yeah.
yeah, like when you surround yourself with people that are, unstable, then and you're unstable, even if they are good people, it's not usually a good a good match. Like, that doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just your energy and their energy. You weren't supposed to meet at that time.
And
Or maybe,
that's
yeah,
something I struggle with too, because see, in our community, like being an Indian brown person coming out, where do you go? Family doesn't accept you, so being in the wrong, going out in the world, trying to figure out how you're going to pick people as your friends. Sometimes it takes a lot of trial and error. Um, of course, I've had my lessons also of learning through what characteristics I would like my friends to have, the qualities that I'd
right,
like them to have, because it is a reflection of me, of who I am.
right,
So that again, it's not easy. It is everyday job, a conscious effort to make sure even the ones that you have, you maintain the relation with them, like friendships with them, because it helps to nurture and grow. It's such a
yeah.
family.
Yeah, like, something I've learned through, I was outed by somebody from church to my parents when I was 15, and then went to boarding school, and just all these things that happened. Um, and started drinking when I was probably 19, and drank really hard. That's like back in the day. I'm 36 now. So back in the day, the only places gay people could meet each other were at bars. So
Yeah,
it wasn't odd that I, drank a lot, and so did the people that I met, because that's just the way we socialized. We didn't have like,
we had
it wasn't,
healthy
we didn't
place.
have,
We didn't have healthy places to go.
I think we had a coffee shop in Long Beach,
That's about
and
it.
younger kids went there. But yeah, we didn't have, like, there are churches, yes, that support that, but I don't even know back then if there were gay churches or gay friendly churches.
So,
That's like a newer thing. And that's just where people met. And I think a lot of times we would meet people, and because we didn't have really even options for friends, we had a very small pool of people who were accepting of us, so of course we tolerated stuff we wouldn't normally tolerate
bunch of
you
keys
know
in one bag. Like, these certain places, 3 spots in Long Beach, 3 spots in, WeHo, like, those were the back in the day, like, those were the hubs, and you just keep running into
right,
people that you see, and it's just a cycle of, like, Okay, what do you do next? Where do you go?
Right. Right. And so I also think like, and I'm not a psychiatrist, this is just journeys that I've learned from being in therapy for so long on and off. I've also noticed like, I don't think when we hate that queer part of ourselves, whether you're trans, whether you're bisexual, whether you're, a lesbian, whether you like, don't fit any of those any of those molds. Like very early on, I knew before I even knew what, being trans was or any of those things, I knew I was different and I knew there was something wrong and I knew I couldn't talk about it. So like I tried doing dress up and being that girly girl. And, I tried it all and it didn't fit. And I didn't
Yeah.
understand why I wanted to be be the husband and be the boyfriend. I didn't, and it wasn't something I could talk about, and so I think there comes, and I'm not saying this applies to everybody, but I think for me, there came like something's wrong with me, and and then adding on other things of abuse as well, um don't help, which also something's wrong with me, and thinking, my parents, and I don't know if they believe this now, but I know my parents believed all this to my abuse and they thought if I went to enough therapy that I was going to be okay. And I don't think they were trying to do it to be mean or say that you're bad or anything like that. They just wanted me to be happy and they didn't think I could be happy that way. And they just,
The tools
I
that knew what they knew.
Yeah, and my parents, come from a very strict Mormon family in Utah. So, they were never um they were never around or even dealt with anything like me as a child,
A rainbow.
and
Close to
yeah,
rainbow.
like and very conservative, um and they worked for everything they had. Like my parents don't come from rich families. You know, both of my like maybe my mom's family would be considered rich, but there was like 11 kids. So it's very hard to be rich with 11 kids, and having a stay at home wife. So, my family's supportive now. My aunts and uncles are supportive now. They're supportive at least enough to call me Christian and say he and stuff like that. I don't know if they believe in who I am or like that's none of my business, and for a long time I needed to know they accepted me because if they accepted me then I could accept me. But I don't need them to accept me now. It would be nice, and yes, would I get sad if they didn't? Of course, but I have to accept myself and I have to love myself because if I don't, then I'm gonna keep attracting people who do not treat
Except,
me with respect.
yeah.
I'm not. I've or people that who mimic relationships with my mom. Like even if the person wasn't disrespectful to me, things mimicked relationships of my mom where I felt powerless, where I felt unseen, and I've had a couple girlfriends that fully saw me, but at that point I was in addiction and addiction was the only thing, drugs and alcohol were the only thing that would bring down that anxiety, that feeling that I can't breathe without this, because my anxiety was so high.
Yeah.
So at that point, even if someone was amazing, my drugs and alcohol came first. Like I wasn't the nicest to you, because to me, I had just been hurt by all these people. And so it's about me, I'm the victim. You don't know that. And I just didn't care. I didn't always care about other people's feelings. I didn't know at the time I was doing that, but like looking
It
back,
was not you. That was also pretty clear to me. It was you were under the influence of something. And as again, like people who matter, Christian, will remain in your life. People who don't matter, who don't value you as an individual you are, as a
yeah.
soul you are, they won't. Um I've had some past also, and mistakes happen, but again, as in bottom of the heart, like you're our awesome human being. And to me that's like it was a blessing that we crossed paths even in many years ago. So I always feel that was like, you played a very important part in my life. And how can I let go of that?
Right. Yeah, of course.
So,
Yeah. Well, and I think, I, I hate cliche jokes or cliche sayings, but I like some of them when they're true. Like when they say there's some people in your life for that time to teach you something, and there's some people that are in your life for a lifetime. And I, I'm just glad you're on a positive playing field right now, because I have to be around people who are trying to better themselves. I've wasted a lot of time just being destructive, and I want people in my life who are trying to make a difference, or whether that's with themselves or the world, people who are trying to get better, and getting better is relative. I was further down the totem pole than a lot of other people are, so um I have a little more ladder to climb than other people, and some people have an even bigger ladder than I do. But I think as long as we try keep going forward, then we're okay.
yeah,
you know
as
I'm
long
just
as you connect your light with other people who help give you, radiate your light, and
right.
that way you just be more stronger. You know, I'm observing all this a lot. Um, has your family accepted you in today's time? Are they accepting of you?
Yeah, like when I started overdosing and dying all the time. Now, I don't know if it was that, or if it just happened around that time, or if my parents realized, oh, maybe we should just start, accepting him and not trying to tell him that you just need to go to therapy and everything, for your abuse, and everything's going to be okay. You
Yeah,
know, and of course I am in therapy for that kind of stuff, in my attachment styles and why I attach to people that are not the best. And which I think is because I was attached to the guy who abused me. Of course, I'm going to attach to people who, aren't the best, because there are things that were really wonderful about him and things that were not so wonderful about him.
yeah.
And all the people who've hurt me are things that are great about them and things that aren't so great. So, but my parents, I think I have one sibling that's not very supportive, but I don't see them often, and they love me. I just think they're because of the religious aspect of their life, it's hard for them to
Yeah,
come to terms.
yeah,
But I don't see them often, so it's when you're going through so many changes and someone doesn't see you often, and when they have seen you, you're in the grips of addiction and just being crazy. um it's I cannot expect them to
what was
fully understand it.
what was like like, I know the community sometimes it's hard to find the right safe community, but even though you may have found the community that you found Christian, was it easy to go get help, or was it something that the people that who you were with, like you just saw, like, you know what, was it like something like, what made you turn around the leaf? I'm trying to find is that, what was that moment for you to turn around that leaf on you and be like, you know what, I'm done with this, I'm going to take care of.
um so I started doing EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's a type of treatment that people do for trauma. It doesn't matter if it's military vets, people who saw somebody die, or somebody hit by a car, to people who are physically abused, sexually abused. Trauma is relative,
Yeah,
so it's how you react to it. So I said to my parents have been very supportive in the senses of, as if when I did research, um, I said, I want to try this. I've been very lucky and very privileged to be able to go to really good therapists. So um, I asked them to go to EMDR after I, survived an overdose that was on purpose because my girlfriend had left me. And which now, like, sounds really lame that, like she left me and so I wanted to die. But at the time, like, I couldn't, see myself ever being accepted or loved by anybody but her. So, you know, I was like, I'm going to be alone. No one's going to love me, all those things I used to say to myself. Um, but I went to therapy, and I was still using while I was in therapy, but I was using less and less and less. And then I went back to addiction and got really sick and almost died and was in the hospital. And my mom was like, and my mom and my mom, because of what the doctors were saying, she's like, we need to plan your funeral. You know what I mean? And because the next time you use again and get sick, you're going to die. Like, so that was really hard to hear. I just like, my mom asked me like, what song do you want to play for your funeral? Like that, I don't, I don't know. Like that's a lot. For me, I have a hard time planning anything. And that just seems so overwhelming. Like I don't know. But you know, I knew that at that point I didn't want to die and someone say, he's a really good guy. He had a great heart, but he just struggled all his life and he couldn't get on top of all the bad things that had happened to him. Like that just seems sad, you know?
That's
Like
not I know.
yeah, like I want my parents to be proud of me just like anyone else. Um and I love my parents, and my parents have always been there for me even if it wasn't in a way I liked. um they've they've done the best with what they have, they have, at least I know my mom has gone really has worked really hard on trying to understand me.
Yeah.
Even though her religious beliefs are very different, she still loves me and wants me to be happy. So, I I started working on myself and stopped doing drugs soon after that. Or actually, I didn't do drugs again. So, um, I, I think I was just like, I really want to have a family. I really want to have kids. My parents are getting older. I want to be able to take care of them. And I'm not going to be able to do that if I keep doing these things, you know? And I didn't want to be a loser. And I wasn't a loser, but I was doing loser things. Like I didn't know how to cope with life, you know? So I think that was like when I did EMDR, about a year later, I almost died. So I think because I did EMDR, I had so much anxiety from my PTSD that it was just hard to, function. And the EMDR therapy was very painful and it wasn't fun, but it took away a lot of the physical anxiety, and it took away physical trauma that I was holding on in my body. Um, and because your body stores trauma, there's nothing new. Like I think I don't remember who wrote a book on it. Somebody wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
So no matter what's happened to you, your body stores that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so because I didn't have so much anxiety, anytime something uncomfortable happened, I didn't have this feeling like I was going to die. And usually when something was happening emotionally, I felt like I was going to die. So I believe that therapy made it easier for me to deal with what was happening presently without wanting to run and hide into drugs and alcohol. So, and then the longer I stayed sober, um, and I was around people that were safe. And even when I made mistakes, they didn't make me feel bad about myself. And I was just like, okay, I really want to be healthy. I really want to have a family someday, if that's, the universe's will, or um, but I don't want to not have a family because I'm on drugs and alcohol. Like I just want to try stuff. And I want to fail because I failed, not because I was on drugs and alcohol.
You just had an unsuccessful moment, not like you failed. You just
Yeah.
unsuccessful moment.
Right.
Uh, but so 2021, you seem like you sound so strong. You sound
Thank
like
you.
I have so much to learn. Couple things from you. You're teaching me the program. uh,
Yeah.
What about your dating life? What are you doing in this pandemic?
Um, well, I hit on my barista, but she has a boyfriend, so that's okay. But I hit on her rather than just, you know,
Flirting, yeah.
rather than flirting without trying anything. Like you can flirt, but if you don't ask, what are,
Yeah.
I can hear no. I'm not going to die if I hear a no. Before, if I heard a no, I would think I would be like, I'm a bad person. Nobody loves me. This is why my life sucks. Just like poor me. Um, but
What
yeah,
would,
well,
sorry.
I'm in a pandemic, so I don't really
Yeah.
go out.
Um, what would you like the society to say, like the brown community, like I know a few of my friends who are trans, and I know
Right.
most of them are, they've also had their journey and they're beautiful souls.
Yeah.
Um, I hope someday we will have a conversation with them over here. But what kind of, I want to say, is myths, barriers that you want to break? What's your message? What would you like to share? Like, as far as, how people are judgmental. Obviously,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
judge off the bat, and
Yeah. I can be kind of judgy, and I'm working on that.
I'm shallow sometimes. I'm working on that too.
I'm working on it.
It's
I'm
like,
human.
I just know I don't want to settle for less. I'm just in that
Yeah.
place to settle for less. And but like in my coming out over here, for instance, I live in an Indian community, right? So just being out there, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, how old are you? How come you're not married by now? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Are you able to not have kids? Are you able to not, like, the option only is like two things: either I cannot have kids, or I have some medical condition, like some offset, but
Right.
they wouldn't get to the point like, oh, she's possibly, gay, or she's LGBT. But
Right.
like in I only want to know from you, like, tell me when it's for you, like, what's your frustration? What do you still run into? Frustrating encounters, or what do you want to educate people with? How would you like to put out like,
Um,
a message?
I'm not brown, obviously, but I was raised in a very religious community. So I understand some of what people from ultra religious communities come from, you know, um, like the way that Mormonism or LDS, which the Latter-day Saints, like one thing I love about it is their sense of community and their sense of family and their sense of sticking together. You know, that's something I wish I could have both of. I don't know what the future holds with religion and accepting people like us, but I always, you know, would hope that people would know that we're just like other people. Like, honestly, if I could take a pill and, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I would do that, but I know at a time there was a time when I was younger, if I could take a pill to be like quote unquote normal cisgendered, which means your body matches your brain kind of thing. You feel comfortable in the body you were born in. If I could just be a normal person, a straight white, only because I was come from a white family, straight white, person, whether that's male or female, and would be comfortable, I would do that because it's just so much easier. Um, but I don't think that there's something wrong with me. Like I don't know, maybe there's queer people because the world is overpopulated and there's a lot of kids that need being adopted. Who knows? Like I just want to be accepted and to be loved. Um, and I have a lot more compassion than some people because they have never been through struggle that I've been through, you know. But I think everybody wants the same thing. They want to feel connected, they want to be loved, and they just want someone who sees them,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and I know there are lots of people in different communities that are not accepting. I think anytime there's religion, I think religion in it, organized religion in the sense where I think what they believe is fine. It's just when men get involved that sometimes it can get corrupted. Because I realized that I cannot run my own life. When I ran my own life, bad things happen. When I thought I knew everything, bad things happen. So why am I still alive even though I've overdosed over 8 to 10 times? I don't know. Maybe there's a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
You know, why have I I don't know. There's just so many. There are people that have been through what I've been through that are so much worse off than I am. Um, I am a pretty optimistic person. I believe in people, and I think people are ultimately good, even though my past does not always say that. Like, if you look at my past, I could have lots of reasons to hate people. Um, I think I was born that way,
Yeah.
and that God made me that way. I don't know why. It doesn't really matter. Um, but I know that I just want someone who loves me, um, and my family to love me, and I want to make my family proud, and I want to make myself proud. And the only difference between gay people and trans people is that we just love other people and we look different. Like, I don't think we're all that different. I'm kind of I'm really dorky, I'm clumsy, I run into things all the time, I spill drinks. Like, you know, I'm not very I always need my friends' help to dress me. When I like a girl, I'm shy, I stutter, I drool on myself. Like, I'm just
It's normal
like,
thing we all do.
yeah, my palms get sweaty. I
Yeah.
you know, I say a lot. I say dumb stuff, but I think that I just want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to help others not feel alone, because I think a lot of people feel alone, and they don't have to be in the LGBT community.
No.
They could just be misunderstood. And I felt so alone for so long. And so I want to do what I can, um, to hopefully help someone not feel so alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're
So,
not alone. You're not alone.
yeah.
You have very beautiful people in your life that I know. And you're a survivor, Christian. Like,
Thank
hearing
you.
about you've mentioned you survived 8 times overdoses. You're
Yeah, probably more than that, but I can't always remember.
you're a lucky person. Is that they say cat with 9 lives? You've really like beat off
Yeah.
these cats. Like you've and it's a miracle. Like, again, discover your purpose. And I feel like your vibrations, even in your presence, I feel like you're on such a beautiful right path. You're
Thank you.
inspiring. You're inspiring people. Just continue doing that. And
Yeah.
I can ask you so many questions, but I just feel like I know so much about you. So I
Yeah.
understand you. So for me, I would leave it up to you. Whatever you would like to share, you can share it out for audience who you would like to
You
educate
need
or
to ask me questions. That's your job. I don't know. I talk about myself all the time. I don't know what to say.
okay, so let's talk about I will talk about politically correct things or not maybe, but I want to talk about the things that generally in people they have transphobia. They think like trans people are they have a certain different way of living life, or they think that, I mean, they're scared. Let's just be real. Like, a lot of people are scared on that, and I want to ask a lot of people who are scared, like, why? you know it's
I
just
think, I don't know. I think when things are different. Oh, sorry. I cut you off.
No, I just want to ask you is that, see, like, media portrays beautiful things lately. Like, a lot of shows are showing support, but in the past also, it's like, don't ask, don't tell, military or anything. The
Yeah.
fear is still there. Like, a lot of people struggle with that. There are a lot of still suicide rates that happen because people are struggling to come out. They
Right.
don't know if the family will accept them or not, or the financial support. Um, it's again the hate also that goes on against trans community, which we need to talk about. Like, why
Right.
do we have that?
Yeah. Um, I think anytime. someone doesn't know how to react to something, or something's new, or something, is foreign to them, people get scared. Like, why do we gawk at people who have facial deformities, who, say someone's missing a leg? Like, if there's a child who wants to point at that person and said, "Oh, hey, mommy, daddy, what's wrong with that man?" And culture says, "Oh, don't look over there. Don't be rude," or
Yeah.
da 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 da.
Yeah.
Um, I I have a problem where I notice things. So sometimes I'll stare at people because I notice a lot of stuff about them. If their haircut was different, I think I'm a very curious person. And or something's different, like, I think when you don't know what, like, okay, sorry, not making my point clear. So my mom, because I had PTSD, when bad things happened or I got scared, I'd black out. So um, my mom always taught me, and she taught my other siblings this too, that, and actually the church teaches you this, the church taught me this, that you need to prepare what you're going to do before it actually happens, because then you will not be as scared. If some, and the reason they did this was for like drinking, premarital sex, if somebody pressures you to do drugs, if whatever the situation, if somebody tells you, "Hey, why don't you wear a bikini?" Why do you eat this way? Why don't you shop on Sunday? Why, da 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 da, whatever the question is, so that you will be prepared and it will not freak you out. Because if you know what you're going to do before something actually happens, then you are more in control. So I don't think people have conversations about people that are different. Like, my I was transitioning when my nieces, a lot of my nieces and nephews, were growing up. So my siblings, all but one, started calling me Christian in front of all the kids. They didn't, ask why are we calling him now, and excuse me, and they don't remember. But now, like with my sister's family, now there's a person missing. Like, me as a girl is no longer there, and my nephew was, counting the pictures of people in the house, and they're like, "Oh, where's this person?" And I just had to say, talk to your mom, because I'm respectful of the way people raise their children. I think a parent, um, each person has the right to raise their family the way they want to, as long as it's not hurting someone else or the child.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's going to be more confusion, which is her reasoning on why she wasn't going to switch the name, was because she's afraid she was going to confuse the child. The child's going to be more confused now than if you just switched when they were really young.
Yeah.
And they're a parent just wants the best for their child. And I don't force myself onto people. I used to, because I thought, you have to accept me, you have to do this. But like, I think there's generational shame. Now, I think there's generational abuse, there's cultural abuse. I don't think that some cultures see what they're doing as throwing their children onto the street as abuse, but I consider abuse. I think until the child is 18, it is your job to protect them and to love them, and to be there for them to the best of your ability. And I think, unfortunately, when you get hit a lot, you get used to getting hit. So certain cultures, they say it's okay to throw your kid out. So it just makes it okay. If you only, unfortunately, like, you get used to bad things happening, then it's okay. Or you have people in power that are saying, "Oh, this is okay," and nobody's questioning them. Like, no offense to the people who are raised in certain religions, but you have, people that are high up in certain religions abusing children. But, and people don't like that, but they still go to that church, and because the whole church is not bad, but
there's some
like,
examples.
how are you not making a big deal out of this? This isn't just a little bit. There are lots of people whose lives have been ruined because of it, yet it's one of the most powerful churches in the world.
Yeah.
And, I don't think it's a bad church. I think those are men that are human that have done bad things. But like, I think when things are when it, like, for example, with COVID, we have people that don't want to wear masks. And so when you have another person who doesn't want to wear a mask, they get together, then another person who doesn't want to wear a mask, and then another person, then you have a whole group of people that are not wanting to wear a mask and saying, oh, this is my right to do whatever I want, or, dogs are giving us COVID, or, just random things that aren't even true. And some people are not strong personalities. They're sheep people, and they just want to blend in, and they just want, you know to be loved, I guess, to be accepted. And so you have whole cultures that just want to fit in. They don't want, they're kicking their kid out, not because, well, partly because of religion, and partly what are the neighbors going to think. Why do you care what the neighbors think?
The shame and the guilt, it's like a part of, it's all over the world with all those all parents, all family members that have um you know what, you brought up something about the church that made me think of something. I want to talk about toxic masculinity. uh,
Right.
so being a man, you probably have seen this in church or places also, but we're not talking about church, but just toxic men. Like how as a role model would you want to, like, would you want to talk about something like toxic masculinity,
I think,
something
well,
that
so I don't think, I think there's in any extreme of anything, it's not good. Like, I don't like extreme feminism, that where they teach women to hate men. I think that's wrong. And I don't think extreme masculine, quote unquote, masculinity in the sense of the word, where men think they're better than women, I think that's wrong. I think there, any extremes are bad. I think there are lots of men that I grew up with who love and respect women. I think um, there's just sometimes you have a culture where I think parents don't talk to their kids. So if you don't have the adult, whether that's the father or the mother, talking to a child about sex, then where is he going to learn it? He's going to learn it from his friends at school who don't know any better either. And so there's a lot of peer pressuring into things. I don't think we have people that are evil. I think we have a lot of people who just don't feel understood or want to feel like they fit in, and just are just trying to get by. Like, it's not just trans people that are trying to get by, or LGBT, it's everyone. The difference is that we have a smaller group, and we have a lot of things we're trying to get by on. But I think even regular people want to fit in. That's why you have like the mean girls club in high school, where if you're not pretty, you're not accepted as much as if you're pretty, you know? So I think a lot of times it's also hormonal.
yeah,
Like, when you have guys that are going through college, like I remember when I started transitioning and I was going through my second puberty, there was a time where I was very, you know, macho man. And I thought, women are only good for this. I know everything. You don't know anything. I'm smarter than you. I'm invincible. And I think that's kind of hormonal, because if you see a 16-year-old boy, do you know any 16-year-old boys who don't think they know everything? They all think they know everything. They think they're invincible. They think you're stupid. Why are you talking to me? You don't know anything. I don't think that's an odd thing. I just think that when you have it on a larger scale and you add alcohol um, and drugs and anything else, that bad things happen. But if you had parents talking to their kids and saying, hey, it's not cool if you hit your girlfriend. You hit your girlfriend, that's not acceptable, and I'm not protecting you. And there are women that hit their boyfriends, and they need to be talked about it too. You know, you can be abused and be a boyfriend, you know, because if we hit you, then we're jerks. But if you hit us, then it's okay. You know, so I think, like, I don't know, some people might think the way I believe is just, you know, men need to be men and they don't have feelings. But I grew up with, I've seen my dad cry numerous times. I've seen my brothers cry numerous times. A lot of the times were when they believed in church, but they cried if I was hurt or I got like seriously injured. Like, I think it's just society as a whole that sometimes it's easier not to change. And so people don't change because I don't think everybody, if they don't have a reason to change, why should they? If you could get away with doing whatever you wanted and mommy and daddy took care of you, then you would. If I could get away with, you know, not being in pain, being very successful on drugs and alcohol, never having negative consequences, being able to make as much money as I wanted, then I probably would still do it. But the negative consequences outweighed the positive. So, like, I think in everyday society, they don't have negative consequences, so why should they change? The person who gets kicked out of their house for getting pregnant too early, for, you know, being trans, gay, for maybe not wanting to go to church anymore, for whatever reason. There's lots of people outside of the LGBT community that have issues, but like I think that we just need to love each other and work on self-acceptance. There's a lot of babies having babies, and so, like, yeah, so, and they're not learning anything, you know, and that's society's fault. It's not, you know, I believe it takes a village.
It takes,
So yeah, and I love that. That's one thing I loved about being in a religious community, because everybody work together. So if we could just get people to not, you know, think they know everything that quote unquote God says, because unless they've personally spoken to him,
yeah,
you know, like, people are human. So I choose now to try to surround myself with people that don't make excuses for everything, that take responsibility for their lives. And I also accept people for where they are and who they are. I shouldn't ever, I think it is rude of me to expect my parents to change. I want them to love me and accept me. But we don't talk about certain things because we don't agree. So why do we keep on, why do it's, if I want them to accept me for who I am, I need to accept them for who they are.
yeah,
So and that took me a long time. None of these things are easy all the time, but like, I'm not going to go to you know, someone who really thinks trans people are stupid, and, you know, that's fine, he can think that. Now if he's trying to pass the law, then I think everybody should, you know, tell different opinions. But it's not, I'm not wasting my time on people who don't want to change or learn and grow.
that's true.
You know, and
Evolve,
there,
evolution.
yeah, and there are people in every community. I There are probably lots of maybe not lots, but there are probably more Indian people that do accept people that are trans and gay than would like to say, but sometimes they're just afraid to say something.
They are.
You know, I think I know that there are Hispanics that are very accepting of their trans and gay kids. There's a lot of them that aren't, and who's, you know, I I'm a big believer, and I don't care what you do as long as you're not hurting a child, like the elderly or someone who's less advantaged, like less able to take care of themselves. And I don't want to be around people that are ignorant. But I was ignorant for a long time until I wasn't. So I don't know. I think just growing up, you evolve. So
You have, because it itself is like, you take a see, it takes a lot of courage to even admit something like, hey, I did something. It takes a lot of courage. A lot of people don't own up to it, and you did. So like, you have so much, like, the Christian I remember it now. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome human.
I'm
Awesome.
trying
No, I know
not to be a
human.
douchebag.
And I know Lily's also been a very good part of you. She's healing.
Yeah.
Been a part of a healing journey.
Yeah. She has. I don't know. What's funny is I think like, God or higher power, universe, or whoever you want to call, like, it's kind of funny because she's kind of like me. I, I, I wanted a dog that could go hiking and do all these things, right? But she has like, she has separation anxiety. Well, I've struggled with that for a long time. She's kind of, old. I'm not old, but my body's old from everything I did. She's picky about her food. I used to make my mom, if she made enchiladas, I was like, I don't like enchilada sauce. You need to make me a separate enchilada. And she would, make separate food for me. And like, but Lily loves cuddling and I make out with her, not literally, but I let her lick my face. I'm not abusing animals here, but like she teaches me patience because sometimes she doesn't walk as fast as I want to walk. And I'm just like, like, don't you know who I think I am? You have to come now, but like, she's old and she was a homeless dog and in the shelter for 6 months. And I got a dog with issues and I wanted to be of service to a dog. Because I couldn't really be of service to society. So, I wasn't the easiest kid for my parents. So I think, that's okay. I'm
But
learning.
you'll be a easy parent for some
I
child.
hope so. I'm in therapy, so I'll be a good parent someday.
No, I believe that. I totally do. Your
Yeah.
your aspirations are beautiful. I heard what you wanted to do, and I can see you doing that
I hope so. I'm trying. I
one day at a time. Yeah,
don't give up. If I'm nothing else, I am, I don't give up. I try again.
that's
So,
yeah, that's the
yeah.
part.
Yeah.
What
So,
can I add? Would you like me to end the broadcast or continue?
I don't, you have to ask me a question. I can't just shoot off the hip.
Okay,
Well, I do talk a lot, but.
let me see. I'm gonna ask you some.
Oh, sorry. Someone's vacuuming. My dog doesn't like them, so she's gonna bark. Honey, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Let's talk about let's talk about pronouns.
Okay.
How about that? We'll cover some 9 questions about gender identity being
Okay.
asked for transgender. You were
Okay.
embarrassed to ask, if I may
Yeah.
ask. Uh,
Sure.
so first one, why do some people identify as transgender, gender non-conforming, genderqueer, and non-binary?
So I don't fully, okay. So when I started transitioning, there wasn't genderqueer or non-binary. So my understanding, let's just, there of the types of non-binary people and gender non-conforming. So um, of the people that I know, because sometimes I'm not always good at retelling definitions.
You're not
There,
comfortable with this also? I
no,
mean,
I'll answer.
yeah,
This is my opinion, but I do not speak for the whole community.
yeah, yeah.
Um, people who were, I used to think, oh, maybe I'm genderqueer, maybe I'm non-binary, because I'd feel feminine sometimes and masculine other times. Well, I think there's a difference between feeling feminine and masculine because every boy and every girl is both feminine and masculine, and then it's feeling female or male. So I always felt like I should have been a boy ever since I was really young. Um, and transgender are people basically who their brain, they don't identify with the body that they were born in. So if they were born in the body of, if they were assigned female at birth, they, don't identify with the body, and their brain is telling them that they're a boy basically. And same with assigned male at birth, their body is biologically male, but their brain is female. So I, I don't fully understand non-binary and gender queer. Like, I don't know the difference between the two, but I know there are some people that don't see themselves as male or female, or they see themselves as a guy some day and some days and a female at another day, or maybe they, go back and forth. But I always thought I should have been a man, and since I was very young. And so, and when I started getting surgeries, I had chest reconstruction. Um, I, it made me more comfortable in my body. When I started looking more male and sounding more male, it made me more comfortable in my body. And, so, I didn't, hate the fact that I was a woman. It was more that I wasn't a woman. My body just was, I never was a very good lesbian, because I liked straight girls. Like, I didn't like, that doesn't make you transgender or anything, but I just know a lot of trans men who identify as that and dated a lot of straight women too. And what straight women were attracted to them that weren't usually attracted to people who look like females. So, that's my understanding. I'm kind of an old fogey. I don't know all the new hip terms.
Did you, when the society had passed these laws about transgender for the restrooms, like they couldn't use certain restrooms or the laws, how
Yeah.
they were questioning a lot of people. How were you around? Like how
Um, I think I was still in my addiction, but like, I think someone told me about it. Um, I've I've never, people don't ever think I'm trans, so I never get questioned about anything. I've been in rehabs as male before I even had top surgery, so I've been very lucky in that sense. I think that it's kind of dumb that, I don't think they are dumb, but I think it's a dumb thought that, people are going in bathrooms to assault people when most, sex offenders are male. Not all of them. There are female sex offenders, but um, usually if the psychologist and the psychiatrist are doing what they're supposed to be doing properly, at least in California, you have to have a psych eval in order to transition. I can't speak about other countries or anything like that, but at least when I started transitioning, you have to talk to a therapist. You had to talk to a psychiatrist before you have any surgeries. You've had to talk, or even start hormones. You had to talk to a gender therapist. And usually, if somebody had, you know, issues like that, I would hope that the person would, talk to them. But the people that are in this, that are in like the child sex, you know, industry are not a bunch of trans people. They're a bunch of white older males, you know. So unfortunately, some churches will say this is going to happen, or some ignorant people say these things. I think they truly believe what is happening, what is, that they're going to get assaulted in a bathroom. But, most people, when they go to the bathroom, just want to pee and leave, you know. And unfortunately, there are people that feed off other people's fears,
yeah,
over things that are happening. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to go into I've gone into a women's restroom when there was no men's restroom. And like, I always have to sneak in and sneak out. I don't do it all the time, but it happened once. And like, because I'm still on my ID at the time, not now, but at the time, my ID said female. So if anybody had an issue, I really had to pee. And I got weird looks leaving, like, they're like, why was he in here? So you would think that someone like me, they don't want in the female restroom, and the female restroom's is much nicer than the men's is gross because men are gross. It smells bad. And, if, we just want to pee in peace. Um, I just want people to I want to pee and poop and everybody leave me alone. And I want to wash my hands and I want to get out of there. I hate going to the bathroom. It's so frustrating.
Public bathrooms, yeah.
Yeah.
What are the challenges, Christian, you feel that, say, like the time when you were transitioning and when you came out, the challenges that you faced, do you feel those challenges have grown, or have they actually, are there more resources for our trans community?
I think it depends on where you live. So I live in California, which is a very democratic state in a lot of ways, and I live in Los Angeles, which a lot of people have more access to things, and they're a little more liberal here. So people that have trans kids, they fly all over, they fly from other states to come to Children's Hospital so that they could get their child seen by a psychologist and a psychiatrist. So I don't know what it's like living in like Boondock, Arkansas or something. Like I have no idea, but if we're just thinking about people coming from religious families, I don't think it probably has changed that much. I don't think religion really molds that it really changes. So I don't even think like if you're in California and your family's really religious, it might it might be hard still, but I think that you have more opportunities when you turn 18. I think I know my addiction, as horrible as it was and how horrible it was to my family, I think my family's more tolerant because they understand what it's like where they could possibly lose a child and what their priorities are. So and as horrible as my addiction was and how it hurt my family, my addiction has helped other families in the church. And my story, even when I was doing very not so good, or that's not grammatically correct, but whatever, um, that's helped other people. So I think if people really think about I just think it's hard if you come from a religious family. I don't know what it's like to not come from a religious family. So, like, my family didn't get cable or the internet till I was 17, 18 years old. And I don't think we had cable until I was that age too. So I don't know what it's like to deal with normal pop culture. I wasn't raised in pop culture. So I think we have more resources in the sense where there's more information on YouTube, but I don't think it's easy for everybody still because different states have different laws. So I don't know I think there are younger people coming out as trans, um, and I think that's wonderful. But I think there are still many Black trans women being killed all
Yeah.
the time. So I think it depends on where you come from. I don't have any idea what goes on in like your culture.
Um, I do have few trans friends, but I know as a child I had heard stories, but recently, just this year, there was a trans activist in India who was actually running a kitchen to provide employment to another allies of LGBT and just, you know, children who've been kicked out of their home for their
Right.
identity. So, just recently, what had happened was there was a hate crime. She was an activist for so many years. She really made a name for herself. I should Google and put it out as a credit. She was murdered by somebody in her house. Somebody walked in and employee, her own staff, but hate, and not accepting of her, and
Yeah.
just slaughtered her and left. So that was a big news that happened I think it happened like 2, 3 months ago. So there are cases, but again, mainstream doesn't talk about it. And that's why like that bothers me. Like, why is mainstream not talking about this? There is so much happening in our community. And that was a lot of other things like violence, domestic violence, all those
Yeah.
things got me to be here and wanted to just like push that conversation. That's why we are here, like just to talk about the
Yeah.
fact that we face.
Yeah. I know that sometimes when I walk down the street, if it's really late at night, every once in a while, I'm afraid I'm going to get murdered. But I don't, like I I think that there are certain cultures that it's just not okay to be different. and being, you know, being out as who you are, if it's not, it doesn't go in with, you know, what they have to say, then that's not okay. Now, for some reason, people are more accepting of trans men than they are trans women. I don't know if that's because people, you know, people think, oh, why are you gonna not want to be a man? Like being a man is amazing. Why would you stop being a man? Like, I don't know, because I don't think that way.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's some, you know, psychological stuff that goes on, that you're taking men out of the gene pool, or you're taking good men, you know, I don't know. And I think, you know, when they kill trans women, they don't look at them as women, they look at them as men. And so it makes it okay. And if you're different, then it's okay to kill you, you know.
Sickness.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, which is funny, because I don't understand. Like, there are other cultures that have had, like, I don't know the technical names, but in like the Hawaiian culture, there's somebody in the culture that is more like a motherly type, and they don't like transition the same way as, you know, a trans person, but they're biologically male that play a female role. In the Filipino culture, that's also true. Don't you have that in the Indian culture?
Too, it's very accepting of that, but that's the thing. Like again, you have the mainstream media, the way the information is spread. So many people are even afraid. We have a lot of hermaphrodites in India, which is called Hijra community, and
Yeah,
they're looked down
call it
upon.
intersex. We don't use that other word anymore. That's considered derogatory. You say intersex. Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for correcting me. But again, like I had somebody that I remember who was a house help, and she was a friends. She was friends with a person of intersex, and my other friends found out, and they were like, "Why are you friends with that person?" And at that time, I didn't even know, but I was like, "It doesn't matter. Like, they're nice to me. I'm nice to them. We're friends. We kick it."
Yeah.
You know. Again, I feel it's hypocrisy in our culture. So here it is. Okay, men look down on people who are intersex, but when there's bridal, not bridal shower, you know what they say, child, just before the
Child,
delivery,
child bride.
child, what do you call that?
That,
The
that,
shower, whatever they do for the child.
I don't know.
Ch- baby shower, I suppose, what I'm trying to.
Oh, baby
So
shower.
in India, they do this baby shower thing, and they'll call all the community, intersex folks to come and dance, perform on Bollywood songs, and then they will take the money and they will kind of go like that, and then they will take it over the child, and you'll be like, "Here you go, like take all the evil eye off you, take all." But see, that's the thing. We work with the community for entertainment purposes, but not to really build relations with them. And to me, in a
Oh,
culture, I find
sorry.
that hypocrisy. That
Yeah.
why can't we have relation with them? Why can't we have them in a family? Why can't they be in someone's family as a household member instead of just being a mere entertainment factor?
I don't know, because I don't fully understand the cultural aspect of that. I think there are people that probably didn't care for a really long time, and then somebody started saying they did care, and then it just grew and grew and grew.
Started,
So, like, if you are taught that, you know, 2 plus 2 is 4, it's really hard to teach someone when they're when they're growing up. If so, say I get taught someone, I was taught as a child by my parents 2 plus 2 is 5, and so then I teach my child 2 plus 2 is 5. And then they teach their child 2 plus 2 is 5. It's really hard if everybody keeps teaching the same things. It's, you know, even though 2 plus 2 equals 4, you know, if I'm only around people that are saying 2 plus 2 is 5, even though that's wrong, I'm going to be like, no, you're wrong. Like, you don't know anything, you know? So,
it's level of understanding and level of really questioning that why is this how it is? Um,
yeah.
no, I
And some
started
people don't question anything. Like, they're perfectly fine going on
blind.
without thinking. Like, I think about everything, and I've been like that since I was a kid. I constantly am like, why, mom? Like, I don't understand. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I always have overanalyzed, and, you know, sometimes to my downfall, but some people are perfectly fine, never really thinking about anything, never growing spiritually, and they don't even know they're not growing spiritually because it's normal for them.
That's the conditioning from generation to generation to generation is having. I think, like, I see around me my age group and folks in the group of people that I know. I think that's the generation that everybody has come out from their own shell. They've broken the barriers that the families had set them on, the conditions
Yeah.
that they were born with. They all have come off on the other side of rainbow, which is beautiful. So
Yeah, I don't know. I I don't have to, like, I've tried fixing other people and trying to change people's minds to trying to help people who need to not feel alone.
no,
Because, I can't make someone change, but I can let people know, like, that things can be better and they're not always going to be so sad, so that they don't have to continue the cycle.
that's very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So
I think you covered everything. You covered so many deep parts, from ups and downs, lows and highs,
highs
education,
and lows.
highs and lows. Um,
I'm just messing with you.
no problem. Um, do you want me to continue the broadcast? Because I have no other questions.
What are the other questions? That's fine. I still have time.
I don't have questions. I don't. You covered everything. Literally, there were like 9 questions. You covered 9 out of the 9 questions. You covered most of those questions, and you're starting. You went on with your own story about your um, beginning of your
Right.
transition and you coming out, and you covered your hard obstacles. You covered your achievements. Um, you talked about what the society needs to do change, as what families need to do, how religion plays a part in it, and how everybody lives in the fear of not wanting to actually question things.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is just based on what I've been through. I can't speak
Yeah.
for anybody, like, not in my world. Like, this is just this, this guy's opinion. Like, I don't speak for the trans community. I don't speak for the Mormon community. I don't speak for, you know, the white community. I don't speak for the blue-eyed community. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying based things that I went through and the people that were around me. And this is just my perspective. Like, I could, maybe, like, something happened to me and I completely remembered it wrong. Like, this is just based on what I know. And I'm learning, and I could feel different in 2 years. Like, I'm constantly growing. So, and I hope other people are, but I don't have high expectations that other people are going to change, but I do I do have, want to change myself because I want to be happy. So, yeah.
You're awesome.
Thank you. I think you're awesome too.
Very awesome. Um, so I think I'm going to end the broadcast here, Christian.
Awesome. Cool
And
beans.
yeah, so maybe we can do more series with this if you want to do, Christian. You want to come back and do some more series? I'll come up with a proper set of questions.
Sure.
Okay.
With your